In the name of God. Hello everyone, my name is Saleh and welcome to my presentation. I want to talk about the effectiveness of the World Trade Organization's Dispute Settlement System, or DSS, and comparing this effectiveness between developed, developing and least developed countries. WTO was established on January 1st, 1995. However, its trading system dates back around 50 years ago. GATT 1947. And until the October 2024, WTO has attracted 166 countries, and it plays a crucial role in facilitating international trade. There are two WTO's primary functions. The first one is legislative, and the second one is judicial. And the DSS is placed in the second one. First, I will provide an overview of the DSS. DSS comprises four stages: consultation, panel process, appeal, and implementation. Consultation or negotiation is the recommended method of dispute resolution. The DSU's Article 4 provides the general guidelines and processes for conducting consultation. If a dispute cannot be resolved through talks within 60 days, the complainant might request a panel. Panels consist of 3 members unless the parties agree to a panel of 5. Panels follow the established working procedure outlined in Appendix 3 of DSU. A panel's final report ought to be released in 6 months or 3 months in an emergency. The tribunal consists of 7 members. The appeal process for any matter is conducted with the presence of 3 members. The appellant body shall allocate a maximum 90 days for appeals. The appellant body has the authority to uphold, modify, or reserve a panel's legal findings or conclusions. The appellant body's report requires approval by the Dispute Settlement Body, or DSB, and is adopted normally by the DSB unless all members disagree, which is called negative consensus. The defeated member must, within 30 days, state whether it will amend its politics, and the request a time frame of 15 to 18 months to implement change after a violation is confirmed. This period may be shorter or longer depending upon the particular circumstances. For example, in Australian measure affecting importation of salmon case, 8 months was considered for Australia to bring its measure into conformity. The victorious member may request commercial sanctions or suspension of concessions if the final stipulations are not met within the agreed time frame. Members must negotiate for at least 20 days before submitting the application. If no agreement is reached, a panel is formed to assess the harm and appropriate compensations. Arbiters often reduce compensation claims, as seen in European Community's banana case, where a U.S. proposed retaliatory payment of $520 million, but arbiters reduced it to $191.4 million. As Warren Young and Mark Levy say that there are different kinds of effectiveness, such as problem-solving, legal, economic, normative, and political effectiveness. The most important kinds of effectiveness when it comes to dispute settlement is problem solving. This factor will be measured by 3 main key indicators: time frame, participation, and achievements. Time frame. For using this indicator, it has to compare WTO dispute settlement with the other international or regional organizations. As a matter of fact, solving a dispute in WTO dispute settlement is specifically faster than the other organizations. WTO panel proceedings typically take about 10 months. This duration excludes the time needed for panel formation and report translation. This time is much faster than ICSID arbitrations, which average over 3.5 years. A similar pattern exists with other organizations. Cases take around 4 years at ICJ, 2 years at ECJ, and NAFTA's Chapter 20 and 11 proceedings of 3 years and 5 years respectively. From 1995 to 2010, the data highlights the average time taken at each stage, that you can see them in this slide. The data in the previous page shows that WTO proceeding follows a structured timeline and do not experience unnecessary delays unless requested by parties. Therefore, the system is regarded as effective and timely in resolving disputes. Participation and achievement. It should be noted that there are three types of member countries in WTO: developed, developing, and least developed countries. The DSS demonstrates effectiveness through active participation, high compliance rate, and efficient dispute resolution. While concerns about developing countries' participation exist, most cases in 2010 were initiated by them. Up until March 1999, they acted as complainants in 24% and responded in 29% of cases. However, between 1995 to 2009, their role increased to complainants in 45% and defendants in 43% of cases, reflecting growing trust in the system. The system boasts an 83% compliance rate over the last decade, outperforming other bodies such as International Court of Justice or ICJ. Cases such as South Korea's dispute with the U.S. over anti-dumping measures and the Costa Rica's success against U.S. textile safeguards highlights the system's support for collaborative trade policy development and fair outcomes for smaller countries. In addition, in its first 8 years, the WTO saw more disputes than GATT 1974 did in 50 years, reflecting members' confidence in the system. These examples highlight how the WTO reduced trade barriers, shortened dispute timelines, and contributed to the development of international trade law, making it a crucial mechanism for global trade governance. The DSS offers a specific privilege and assistance to developing and least developed countries, or LDCs, ensuring their fair participation and equal treatment in global trade governance. The system marks a significant improvement over the GATT 1974, which was dominated by developed countries. Here are the key privileges for developing and least developed members in DSS. Special and differential treatment, or SDT provisions. The WTO Dispute Settlement Understanding, or DSU, offers additional flexibility to developing and least developed countries at various stages of dispute resolution, like consultation phase, panel composition, and time for defense. The other SDT provisions, such as a panel report, implementation phase, and monitoring measures. Legal assistance through the Advisory Center on WTO Law, or ACWL. Developing and least developed countries often lack the legal expertise needed for complex WTO disputes. The ACWL offers legal support at affordable rates, helping these countries navigate disputes efficiently and ensure their rights are protected. Technical assistance and capacity building programs. The WTO provides ongoing technical assistance to help developing and least developed countries understand WTO rules and improve negotiation skills. These programs empower countries to participate efficiently in trade negotiations and dispute settlement processes. Special provisions for least developed countries. Despite the point that are mentioned, there are some special provisions for LDCs. One of them is Article 24 of the DSU, which provides additional support for LDCs. It requires members to exercise restraint when raising dispute against least developed countries and limit the scope of retaliation and compensation against them. Despite the privilege granted to developing countries in the WTO dispute settlement system, there are several factors limit their active participation. The first one is lack of legal expertise and resources. The first point of it is complexity and cost of litigation. The WTO dispute process is described by many members as too complex and costly for developing countries. These countries often lack financial resources and human expertise needed to navigate the system efficiently. The second one is a reliance on private sector support. Unlike the developed countries, developing nations may lack support from internal businesses to assist their governments in dispute settlements. And the next one is a limited legal support from WTO. While Article 27.2 of the DSU mandates legal assistance from the WTO secretaries, this support is limited to ongoing disputes and cannot assist members before initiating a case. To address these problems, the Advisory Center on WTO Law, ACWL, as we mentioned before, offers discount legal services to developing countries and has represented them in about 20% of WTO disputes. However, despite its benefits, the limited capacity of developing countries still remain a challenge. The second one is inability to enforce rulings through retaliation. Retaliation imbalance is the first point. Developing countries struggle to enforce rulings against larger economies because of retaliation measures. For example, suspending trade concessions is often ineffective for smaller countries that have smaller markets. The second point is economic imbalance. Retaliatory measures often backfire, harming developing countries more than their targets. Antigua and Barbuda now found that suspending trade with U.S. hurt their economy more than the U.S. Similarly, in Ecuador versus EC, the arbitrator noted that Ecuador's small share of the EC imports made retaliation ineffective, as the EC could shift trade elsewhere. These cases illustrate the economic imbalance that limits the impact of retaliation by smaller economies. The third one is voluntary compliance and the challenge in larger economics compliance. A study shows that 83% of WTO rulings have been successfully implemented within 10 years, indicating that most members voluntarily comply with decisions. However, when a larger economy fails to comply, the system's limitations become clear, as developing countries often lack the economic leverage to enforce compliance effectively. Statistics highlight the increasing engagement of developing countries in WTO's global trade system. Their share of global goods trade grew from 34.7% in 2000 to 47.8% in 2017, with goods exports rising from $2,239 billion to $8,477 billion in the same period. This reflects not only economic growth but also enhanced integration into global trade networks. In the WTO dispute settlement system, developing countries have become more active participation. As I mentioned before, until March 1999, Developing countries were complainants in 24% and respondents in 29% of cases. From 1995 to October 2019, their involvement grew to 45% as complainants and 43% as respondents, reflecting their growing reliance on the WTO to resolve trade issues. The increased participation indicates that the WTO dispute mechanism has provided meaningful support and opportunity for developing countries to claim their rights in trade conflicts, even though challenges remain, particularly with enforcement against larger economies. In conclusion, the WTO's dispute settlement system has proven to be an efficient and effective tool for resolving trade disputes, helping create a stable global trade environment. With a high compliance rate of 83%, it has enabled members to clarify their rights and obligations under WTO agreements. The WTO extends special privileges for developing countries and least developed countries, or LDCs, including legal support and longer implementation periods, ensuring fair access to the system. While retaliation challenges persist when enforcing rulings against larger economies, the supportive mechanisms in place help these countries advocate for their rights. Overall, the WTO's approach empowers developing countries and LDCs, fostering a more equitable trade environment. This increased engagement suggests that the WTO continues to provide an inclusive platform for all its members, encouraging active participation in global trade governance. It was my presentation about the effectiveness of WTO's dispute settlement system, and thanks for your time and attention.